All right, so disaster is afoot, as it usually seems to be in this country every time you open your eyes. So, as you know, there's these ongoing, very volatile infrastructure negotiations, and it's been going on for quite some time now, and things are seemingly coming to a head, but not in the way that anyone that cares about the workers of this country and this country in general would like to see them. So, what I have in front of me is an article from CNN. It's quite depressing, but bear with me. The title of the article is Biden discusses $1.9 trillion top line for economic package and tells Democrats free community college is out. So essentially what's happening here, Biden and the progressives at large are caving hard to big corporations and these fucking moderates, which are actually extremists by the names of Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. Let me get into this article. I won't read the whole thing. President Joe Biden informed House Progressives Tuesday afternoon, which was yesterday, that the final bill to expand the social safety net is expected to drop tuition-free community college, a major White House priority, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. And the president discussed a $1.75 to $1.9 trillion price tag for the sweeping spending package, according to a person familiar with talks. While the number is not finalized, it is far closer to West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin's $1.5 trillion top line than Progressive's number, which was $3.5 trillion. Moreover, he indicated that the child tax credit, a key Democratic priority, would likely be extended for one additional year, much shorter than what many in their party wanted. One of the sources said the child tax credit will also likely be means tested, keeping with what Manchin had wanted. Biden had indicated to the group that they would reduce the proposed funding for so-called home care for the elderly. So fuck your grandparents and disabled down to less than $250 billion, sources said. Democrats had wanted to keep the funding at $400 billion. Wow. The president told progressive lawmakers that negotiators are weighing reducing the duration of the paid leave benefit outlined in the package to 4 weeks, down from a proposed 12 weeks, according to three sources familiar with the meeting. Democrats for several days have grappled with how to address Manchin's concern over the scale of the program, according to multiple people involved, and have considered proposals to trim the total weeks of the program entirely or to phase in the program over time, starting with a shorter duration and then expanding it over the course of a decade. The president said they plan to keep the expansion of Medicare, which includes hearing, dental, and vision, in line with what the progressives want. California Representative O'Connor also told CNN's Jake Tapper on the lead that Biden planned to provide community college scholarships in the package. Look at that. Look at that. And then this article goes on to talk about how Biden was railing for community free college for his entire campaign run, and it's gone. And also, take note. Guess what this article doesn't mention? Guess what this article doesn't mention? Lower drug prices. Doesn't mention lower drug prices. So I would say that it's safe to say that that's gone as well. How absolutely ridiculous. And so what I want to get into now is the CPC, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, recently released a statement and basically echoed the same sentiments that this CNN article just echoed. So the statement that they released after their meeting with Biden, it omitted community-free college. It didn't include the child tax credits, but it also didn't include the lower drug prices for Americans, or at least they're not being specific on it. So here's the statement from the Congressional Progressive Caucus. I want to thank President Biden for his leadership and for continuing to fight for his visionary, transformative and popular Build Back Better Act. We had a very productive, necessary conversation about the urgent need to deliver the full Build Back Better agenda. This isn't the full agenda. We feel progress is being made towards an agreement that will make transformational investments in the 5 priorities that the CPC laid out months ago. Here we go. Specifically, the care economy, including child care, pre-K, paid leave, and home and community-based care, housing, healthcare, climate action, and a roadmap to citizenship for immigrants. Needless to say, that's also outlined in that CNN article that I didn't read the entirety of. They are trying to figure out where to go on climate because Joe Manchin, of course, his pockets are being lined with dough by the fossil fuel industry, and he owns mines himself, so he's padding his pockets, and so he's opposing climate change legislation, and they don't know where to go with that. Also, that article also outlined that universal pre-K may be on the chopping block. I mean, look at what's happening. Look at what's happening. Completely caving. And what happened was, I think it was like a day or so ago. So Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin were feuding, right? Bernie wrote an op-ed in a West Virginia journal or something like that. He wrote an op-ed in West Virginia, okay? And like directed at Joe Manchin, which is good. And Joe Manchin and the media responded, and they were hateful of Bernie Sanders, as they usually are. And recently, Bernie and Joe had a meeting. Him and Joe Manchin had a meeting. And then you got the press about him being outside. They were laughing together. They took pictures together. And you were kind of wondering, well, what the fuck was that all about? I'll tell you what it was about. Bernie was caving. He was caving. He was caving. They're giving these people what the fuck they want. This is absolutely amazing. And you know what? I'm not surprised at all by it. It's typical Democrat behavior. And you can't, I'm kind of getting sick and tired of people calling them weak. In terms of the progressives, yes, they're weak. Camilla Jayapal, Bernie, AOC, all the rest. But in terms of the moderates that are supposedly in favor of these things that they're proposing, Biden, Nancy Pelosi, etc., they're not weak. They just simply don't care. Okay? They're corporatists. They want to continue to enrich the people that are already the most rich in this country, and they want to continue to do the bidding of the corporations that fund their political campaigns. So in their sense, they're not just weak, they're also weak, but they're also incredibly corrupt. And this is what's happening. Look at what's happening right here. The majority of the American people support these pieces of legislation that's being contained in this infrastructure bill. Need that I add that the media isn't even telling you what's really in the infrastructure deal. They're not even, they'll just say, oh, it's $3.5 trillion. They won't tell you that that's over the course of a decade. And they'll just say, oh, it's a social spending bill. They won't even go into the specifics of what's outlined, like lower drug prices, free community college. Well, that's no longer there. The paid leave. I got to be honest, the paid leave one probably hurts me the most. 12 weeks to 4 weeks. I mean, the workers of this country are getting hosed. Getting hosed. I mean, the working conditions, the low pay, the absence of benefits, and they're forced to work under these conditions, and they can't even get 12 weeks of paid leave. I mean, the deterioration that's going to occur in the future because of our inaction by our politicians, it's absolutely insane. It's obscene. I can hardly find the words to describe this kind of behavior. But it's incredibly indicative of what Democrats are. And this spells out disaster for the future. They can't expect anybody to vote for them if they pass this bill, as I just outlined it in this CNN article. I mean, they can't expect anything to happen. You might as well call it a Republican takeover already. Why do you think there's this pendulum swing back and forth between Republican and Democrat every 4 to 8 years? Because the people of this country don't know where to go. They don't know who to vote for because nobody's doing anything for them. They have no idea. The Democrats get in power. They govern as they usually do, which is terrible. And the Republicans say, see, this is what happens when the Democrats are in power. You should vote for us. Then the American people vote for the Republicans. The Republicans get in power, and they remind us exactly who the fuck they are. Austerity promoting individuals that have nothing positive to offer whatsoever. And then the people get fed up, and then they vote for the Democrats. And then you got neoliberalism, and the cycle just goes on. And you wonder why. And it's because of things like this. Look, man, I'll end it with this. If they have any shred of dignity left, and by they, I mean the quote unquote progressives in Congress, and needless to say, the dignity that they have is almost absent, if not completely gone. But if they have any left, they will get together, I don't know what, 10 or so of them, however much they need, and say no to this absurdity that's been proposed by Joe Biden. But something tells me that they won't, because there's been unanimity, completely coalescing behind this guy as he continues to call for a decrease in benefits, a decrease in the number, and as they continue to cut out programs and means test to satisfy like 2 people, literally 2 people, that being Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's absolutely obscene. When you look at the free community college thing, so we claim to be the best country in the world. We can't even offer our population free community college? Really? Not just Germany, but many other countries, Germany being the most stark, has completely free higher education. Completely free. And it's not just for German citizens, it's for anybody that wants to go there. So if you, an American, were to go to Germany and you wanted to, go to college there, you can go there for free. Of course, you have to pay for your room and board, but you would have done that anyway. So we're not better than Germany. We claim to be the best country in the world, but we can't give our citizenry a free higher education. We can't give them 12 weeks of paid leave. No, they're just good enough for 4. Absolutely insane, absolutely ridiculous. But this is what our politics it is. It's insanely corrupt. They do the bidding of the rich and the corporations. The tax hikes, quote unquote hikes in this bill are incredibly meager, and they won't really amount to anything in the long run. And what you see in that CNN article is most likely what you're going to get. And expect the worst because you're most likely to receive the worst.